the real stuff. Back to the wheel stuff. Get a wheel gun. Does anyone remember Get a Wheel Gun? Oh my god, it was so good. Xin Zhao and Alistair. Lore. Let's go. League of Legends. Tell me. Tell me what I want to know about Xin Zhao and Alistair. Tell me everything I need to know about the cow and the ponytail hero.
I'm here to bring you yet another episode of Lore of League of Legends. This time around, we prepared a pair of champions that are bound to each other by their past. They both have been captured by Noxus and forced to take part in bloody fights on the arena, known as the Fleshing. I present to you the lore of Alistair, the Minotaur, and Xin Zhao, the Seneschal of Demacia.
Okay, it makes sense that Alistair... Yeah, because... Well, I would hope Alistair was inside of a maze, just to, like, fit the cliche of Minotaur, but whatever, it's fine.
Enjoy. Long before the creation of the League, crowds of Valoran looked for other sources of entertainment. They've always been drawn to the bloodshed that gladiators could always provide.
Man, can you imagine being this guy making all of these videos, and then literally less than a year after, they go and they change all of the fucking story. They change the map. Can you imagine being that guy? Like, man, I feel bad for him. He made all of these videos, and they're like, they are irrelevant. Literally less than a year after, because they changed the fucking lore. Man, fuck, man. What was your name? Targran, man. I'm sorry for your loss, bro. Like, you put a lot of effort into this, but yeah, that's good.
And arenas have always been full of people hoping to watch someone get brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Just for their enjoyment.
Obviously. Well, we still do that. Like, we watch MMA for the same reason. Let's be real.
Most major cities had their own arenas, some harder than others. The Fleshing spectacle held in Noxus was perhaps the most brutal of them all. In regular arena fights, spectators could see how gladiators fight each other in one-on-one fights, sometimes small battle groups, or in rare occasions, they'd face off against wild beasts. The Fleshing was different. Gladiators would start one-on-one fights, but for every opponent they defeated, the number of enemies they were to fight next would be increased. Each day, a few fights took place where the competitor fought until he was murdered, or able to defeat his attackers. Eventually, each gladiator...
The Pantheon defeat Gragas? Who was that bad guy laying down there?
would meet his end. But some of them taking it with pride, facing off against 20, 30, sometimes even 50 men at a time. Even if their opponents were not trained for the arena exhausted.
Is that Draven sitting up there? Oh, look at this guy. That's supposed to be Draven, but he has a massive axe, so it can't be Draven.
It was still a great
achievement looks like
to
Draven
survive
too.
Against such crowds. There was one man, however, who used name Viscero.
Oh, this is fuck, bro. Pantheon. This is Xin Zhao. Obviously, it's not Pantheon. Jesus Christ. Where's the shield?
He stood up against anything that the Noxians could throw at him.
Yeah.
He forged his body in battle and hardened it as much as he could. He trained day after day to ensure his survival at the arena. But someone didn't like it. Someone did not enjoy watching how Viscero faced against the strongest that the Fleshing had to offer and defeated them. Sometimes he was heavily wounded, after blocking an attack with his own skull or arms. Sometimes he was unable to walk on his own after the fight. But yet, he was always victorious. News of this man had reached every corner of Valoran where people were at least slightly interested in gladiator fights. And he had been praised and acknowledged. The news had even reached the old King Jarvan II, who had sent his spies and learned that Viscero, or Xin Zhao, as the man was really called, was to face 300 men at once.
Oh shit.
This was clearly meant to be the end of his career, before he became too dangerous.
What do you mean? He just R's them away.
The news and decided to give Xin Zhao another option. He's infiltrated the arena, offering to free the gladiator in exchange for his service to Demacia. Xin hesitated.
Why?
But he understood that it was his only chance not only to escape death, but also take revenge on his masters. He was also flattered by the fact that the king himself came to his rescue. He couldn't ignore that.
Okay.
Viscero, as well as the 300 men he was meant to have faced, had been freed from their cages under the cover from pre-arranged assault on one of the Noxian outposts, right outside of the city. Getting a few hundred men out of the city state without being noticed was impossible, and everyone realized the risk, but no man was willing to waste an opportunity like that. They ran for their lives. They ran for their freedom. Noxian soldiers had been on the pursuit, and they'd slain a few dozen prisoners before they reached the city gates. Others had managed to run unharmed. During this retreat, Xin Zhao had spotted a poisoned dart meant for the king, Jarvan II, and had blocked it with his own body.
Wait, whoa.
As the risk, but no man was willing to waste an opportunity like that. They ran for their lives. They ran for their freedom.
Okay, that was the 300 versus 1 scenario, where the slaves just decided to run away instead of fight Xin Zhao.
Noxian soldiers had been on the pursuit, and they'd slain a few dozen prisoners before they reached the city gates.
Okay.
Others had managed to run unharmed. During this retreat, Xin Zhao had spotted a poisoned dart meant for the king, Jarvan II, and had blocked it with his own body. The sacrifice that he'd made earned him a lifelong
What the fuck is Jarvan II?
spot at the king's side, where he'd served until Jarvan's death. Now...
Oh, okay. What the fuck is Jarvan II? What the fuck is going on here? Which time zone we're talking about? It's like, okay, so he was a he was... He really should say, many years ago, in the arenas in Noxus, there was this one dude, and he was supposed to fight 300 people. Like, it's like way back when.
He serves Jarvan III, son of the man who gave him freedom, and he's proud to serve the Light Shield dynasty. He's an enigmatic figure, rarely speaking, just watching everything from behind the king's back. Some have different theories about the man's origins, but Xin Zhao does not care for them. He's in Demacia to repay his debt by offering his life to those that gave it back to him. He now fights on the fields of justice for revenge on Noxus, and to honor the legacy of the man who gave purpose to his life, Jarvan II.
Cool, that's fine. I
Alistair
knew he
is the
was
mightiest of
I knew he was for Demacia. I just didn't know his backstory at all, though.
Minotaur warriors to ever emerge from the
Ali,
wild tribes
let's
of
go.
the Great Barrier Mountains.
So I wish Ali had a way to be DPS, man. He looks more like a mauler, like a bruiser, than he does support. But he's fucking support, man. I feel like Ali should not be a support champion at all. He should be a top bruiser. Like, he should be just fucking charging at people, mauling them down with his fucking fists, with his chains, with his fucking horns. This is not somebody who's like knocking people up and healing his allies, okay? Like, that's not what Ali
sacrificed his
is.
life to defend his tribe from dangers of the outside world.
Okay.
He's pushed back anyone who threatened the existence of the village. He's slain anyone who meant to harm his people.
Yeah.
That was until the army of Noxus came. Kieran Darkwill, son of the Noxian general, had been leading a military expedition, and on his way he stumbled across the Minotaur village that he'd read about in so many reports. A purple-skinned Minotaur had stood vigil over it, making it impossible to approach the village. The young tactician had come up with a plan that would allow him to take
I love the
revenge
background
for all
music,
the
though.
Noxians slain there. He formed a small squad that was meant to take charge at the village and get attention from the Minotaur. They would start a fight and lure Alistair away from his people. Once he was locked in the battle, the Noxian elite would charge into the village and kill everyone inside. Everything worked perfectly, and soon, Alistair's tribe was gone from Valoran. The plan would be perfect, but Kieran forgot to take one thing into account. The blind rage of the Minotaur that has allowed him to follow the trails of the regiment and slay every single one of Kieran's soldiers. The best of Noxians brutally murdered and torn apart by Alistair's bare hands.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Alistair should be a fucking bruiser, not a fucking support bullshit.
Hundreds of soldiers had fallen this day, giving the young commander enough time to return home and beg for reinforcements. Soldiers were not enough. It took some of Noxus' most skilled spellcasters to bind Alistair in chains and forcefully bring him to Noxus, where he was to be bound underneath the arena and used as another competitor for the fleshing. The endless battle always needed new competitors, and since Viscero was gone, there was no prominent figures that Noxians could cheer for. Left with no choice, Alistair has agreed with his fate. He has fought as he was told to. There was nothing else he could do, no tribe to protect, no home to return to. He was alone, imprisoned and used as a tool to entertain the masses. Alistair's noble soul began to slowly rot. It became weak and twisted. He was being driven closer to insanity, due to blood that he was shed for no reason. There was just one thing that kept him sane, a young servant girl who had found his cell underneath the arena.
Okay.
She came to Alistair every day to chat with him and cheer him up. She was the only friend
Hey,
he'd got in
big
a long
cow.
time.
Hey, big friendly cow. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day out down in the cells. Here's a cookie. And cheer him up.
And it was the only light that his mind had seen in a long time. After brutal fights, he'd been returning underground just to meet with his little friend. She was the one that had arranged his escape as well.
Okay.
It wasn't easy to hide a purple-skinned minotaur in a huge city, but the young girl had her connections amongst those who served at the arena.
Okay.
She secured a way out of the building.
Like,
out
how
onto
young
the
are we
streets.
talking?
There he had managed
like,
on his own, but
she
being
has
a
his
massive, powerful
connections.
beast who had been doing nothing but murdering people for the past years,
Yeah.
he wasn't worried about that. Alistair made his way out of the city back into the Great Barrier Mountains. He had no ideas for his future, but at least it was his life once again. That's when he'd heard about the League of Legends. At first he just wanted to fight and get to every Noxian he could, but soon after he realized that the position of a champion had earned him fame. Fame that came with the power to vocalize his concerns and story of his life. He became an advocate for those who were abused by the Noxian government. Alistair tends to call to light things that he heard Noxian soldiers bragging about, things that were meant to be a secret. Alistair does not only interfere with Noxus's position though, he's often seen helping those less fortunate than himself, doing a lot of charitable work that has earned him many awards and gratitude of those he'd helped. That side of his personality is an interesting contrast to the pure unbound rage he brings to the fields of justice every day. And that's all we prepared for you this time around.
Nothing in this story makes me believe that Alistair should be a support character rather than a bruiser. He can be a carrying bruiser with like he has an ability that can like restore HP for his allies, but like his R should be just like fucking the earthquake that he does or whatever he does now. What is his R even? I don't even know what Alistair R does. No one plays this guy. But it's like his charge into the target, the knockback, the knock up. These are all abilities he should be able to use as a bruiser. There's absolutely no reason for him to not be a bruiser. I find it absurd that he's a support. I mean, look at the guy. Holy fuck. That's so weird.
Video by pressing the like.
So weird. I don't know. His story does not fit with being a bruiser. It's crazy to me. But anyways, yeah, but that's the video. That was part 36. Zini Zhao and the cow. We'll go next one.